1. The American Revolution and the founding of the United States. The American Revolution, spanning from 1775 to 1783, was a pivotal moment that forever changed the course of world history. 13 British colonies in North America, increasingly burdened by taxation without representation and lacking parliamentary voice, rose up against the mother country. The colonists, inspired by Enlightenment ideals of human rights and self-determination, demanded their freedom. The climax was the adoption of the Declaration of Independence on July 4, 1776, proclaiming the colonies' right to separate and form their own nation. Under the leadership of figures like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, and John Adams, American patriots, though outmatched in numbers and weaponry by British forces, excelled in motivation and local knowledge. They secured crucial support from France, which proved decisive in the war's outcome. The American victory in the War of Independence not only led to the formation of a new nation, the United States of America, but also served as a powerful impetus for democratic movements. Worldwide, the U.S. Constitution, adopted in 1787, laid the groundwork for a federal republic with a separation of powers and a system of checks and balances. It became a model for many other nations' constitutions, enshrining fundamental principles such as freedom of speech, religion, and the right to a fair trial. The birth of the USA demonstrated that a people could choose their own destiny rather than submit to the will of monarchs, becoming a symbol of liberty and democracy. 2. The American Civil War. The American Civil War stands as the deadliest conflict in the nation's history, claiming hundreds of thousands of American lives. The primary cause of the war was the profound contradiction between the industrialized North and the agrarian South, which was dependent on slave labor. Southern states, whose economies relied on plantation farming and slavery, advocated for each state's right to decide on its legality. The North, however, moving towards industrialization, increasingly favored abolitionism and the end of slavery. The election of Abraham Lincoln as president in 1860, known for his anti-slavery views, served as a catalyst. 11 Southern states seceded from the Union and formed the Confederate States of America. The conflict began with the Confederate attack on Fort Sumter in April 1861. The war severely tested the resilience of the American nation. Battles like Gettysburg and Vicksburg demonstrated unprecedented brutality. Lincoln, aiming to preserve the Union and end slavery, issued the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, freeing slaves in Confederate territories. Ultimately, due to superior numbers and industrial might, as well as strategic victories by Generals Ulysses S. Grant and William Sherman, the North triumphed. General Robert E. Lee's surrender at Appomattox in April 1865 marked the war's end. The Civil War led to the abolition of slavery, enshrined in the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, and strengthened federal authority, proving the indivisibility of the Union. However, despite the victory, the war's aftermath, including racial discrimination and the necessity of Southern Reconstruction, remained painful and continued to influence American society for many decades. 3. The Civil Rights Movement. Despite the abolition of slavery after the Civil War, African Americans continued to face systemic discrimination and segregation, particularly in the Southern states. Jim Crow laws enforced separation in public spaces, education, transportation, and even voting. In the mid-20th century, a powerful civil rights movement emerged in the U.S., aiming to achieve full equality for all citizens regardless of race. The movement was led by prominent figures such as Martin Luther King Jr., whose principle of nonviolent resistance, inspired by Mahatma Gandhi, became a cornerstone of the struggle. Landmark events included the Montgomery bus boycott, where African Americans refused to use segregated transportation, and the Greensboro sit-ins,